Okay, so here we are with another Mcfarlane DC Multiverse unboxing, and this is the Flash from Justice League Task Force. This is a video game that came out in the 1990s. I remember playing it way back then on the Sega Genesis. I believe it was also on the Super Nintendo, but I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I just had a Sega Genesis. Like, I don't know much about console wars. I don't remember if I specifically wanted a Genesis for whatever reason, or like if my parents just got me the new video game system and that was the one that they picked. But I did have fun playing that Genesis. So yeah. Uh, Justice League Task Force was a fighting game, kind of similar to games that were popular at the time, like Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat. And basically, the storyline of it was that uh, you played as a Justice League member, and you had to fight your way through all these other Justice League members who turned out they were like robot clone duplicates or something that Darkseid had made. And the Justice League members that you had, and we've got figures of all of them. We got the Flash, going to be the first one I open. Then we got Superman with the mullet, you can see. And then, of course, Batman. And finally, Aquaman. That's the figures that we got. But there were two more Justice League members that were in this game that we don't have figures of, and one of them was Green Arrow, and the other one was Wonder Woman. Now, they obviously McFarlane's made figures of Green Arrow and Wonder Woman, but not with this style, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But hopefully, they'll go back at some point, and if this line sells well, I figure they probably will. Do repaints of Green Arrow and Wonder Woman to fit in with this. And then, of course, like I said, the main villain was Darkseid, and there also was Despero and the Cheetah. So those are other figures they could make for this line potentially, I think. So here's what the back of the package looks like, and it's got this picture of Darkseid and our heroes. And I've seen this picture of Superman before, but he had the more traditional Superman haircut. It looks like they just kind of redrew his hair to be the mullet. And Batman, the Flash, Aquaman, again, looks like they redrew his hair to match the longer hair. We're going to talk more about this Aquaman design once I get to the Aquaman episode. So, but again, I'm not really going to do this in order that it says to do it on the package, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, they've got this as step 2. So I just have like a couple of loose legs floating around. Step 1 should always be the torso, because everything attaches to the torso. So that's why I'm opening the Flash first, because he comes with the torso. So, and then there's the cross-cell artwork, which is the same as in the big picture here. You got Superman, Flash, Aquaman, and Batman. And I already showed the side of the box, but it's got its own unique design, which McFarlane has been doing more and more lately. I really appreciate. If you saw my Superman versus Doomsday from last episode, that one had special Batman v Superman packaging, and this one has like a yellow kind of starburst with the 80s Justice League International logo that doesn't have to say International on it, but that's the Justice League logo they had on Justice League International, and then it says Task Force down underneath. So let's go ahead and open them up. I already cut the piece of tape at the bottom, and we'll get on this. And I've got some other Flash figures that we can compare this to. By the way, I got more stuff coming from Big Bad Toy Store soon, and I went ahead and got a couple of cheap things put into my pile of loot for whenever that comes in. And one of them is actually one of the movie Flash figures. It's the one in the repainted Batman outfit, so that should be fun to talk about. But anyway, he comes with these two kind of punching fist effects. We'll talk more about those in a little bit, get into how those work. And then get my X-Acto knife, and then I'm going to cut through the torso here, so we can start putting together Darkseid once we get the next one open. And this looks pretty much like the same torso that with the classic Darkseid that I already opened. but you can see that it's painted differently. It's a much darker blue, and it's a kind of a purplish shade of blue. And in fact, the highlights that you got on there, you can see that like that's almost like a lavender. But yeah, they do this with this line. They're doing this kind of like pixelated sort of shading to it to make it look more like a 16-bit video game system. Oh, I remember when 16-bit was state of the art. And I'm not so much of a big gamer anymore. I don't really have a whole lot of time to play video games, unfortunately. But I did play a lot of video games back when it was the 16-bit days. So I think the last video game system I had that I played a lot was PlayStation 2. So yeah, it's been a while. All right, so I got all the rubber tabs cut on this guy, and then we get the flash out of the package. And it looks like there's some residue from the rubber tabs that got kind of stuck on the figure, and that's unfortunate. So, like with the dark side leg, or dark side torso we were just looking at, what was it, leg? Flash has some kind of pixelated paint applications on them, like highlights. And also you can see that they made the Flash emblem on his chest kind of pixelated, which I don't know how I feel about that. Like I'm fine with the pixelated shading. That looks pretty good to me. But I kind of feel like even with the pixelated style, like the emblem, I would like it if the emblem was a little more sharp. And he doesn't come with any extra fists or anything like that. So he's just got the two solid fists, so no flat hands for running or anything like that. So, but it is the for the most part the kind of standard sort of DC buck that we see a lot of the times now. Happy New Year, Zazzle! I think it's probably already New Year over there, isn't it? You're already in 2025, right? So, but you can see like it's got the lightning bolt belt sculpted in. Looks pretty cool. Other than that, I think that this is mostly like kind of the standard figure. If I compare him to the infamous Kid Flash figure, he's got different boots from what Kid Flash had. They look better than the ones that are on Kid Flash. But yeah, it's basically the same standard buck that we see a lot of the times. The Riddler being another example, since I happen to have the Riddler handy. It's always good to have the Riddler around. So it's the same basic buck as that. And of course, Captain Atom, another one that used that buck. So yeah, good head sculpt on this figure. He's got a more serious expression on his face, certainly, than the modern style Wally West. He's a very cheerful fellow. This guy's a little more look of grim determination. Good morning from the future. Good morning from the past. So I'll be in 2025 soon enough. We'll see how 2025 treats us. Hopefully better than most of the rest of the 2024s. Man, 2020, the 2020s has just been a wash, man. Like I've not been a fan of the 2020s. So, and then of course we have the rebirth version of Wally West in his Flash costume, and he was just called the Flash, but he does have the top of the mask cut out like Kid Flash had, and you can see they went with silver rather than yellow or gold for him. But this is supposed to be like Wally's outfit that he had in the 1990s. This was actually Wally's first real Flash costume. His Jason's Electric says, can't get my dark side build a figure to bend his elbows. Hopefully yours will. Yeah, hopefully so. Probably what happened a lot of the times is sometimes the plastic will just get kind of stuck together when it's in the package. Sometimes because of the paint. Sometimes the plastic itself will just kind of stick to itself for whatever reason. What I find works really well is I'll use a hairdryer and soften up the plastic, and then usually then you can kind of with some gentle coaxing kind of pop it where it'll move. But don't force it. Never force it, because that's how you break it. But yeah, some gentle coaxing will usually do the trick after you've applied some heat if a hairdryer won't do it, I'd stick it in some like really hot water, like not actually boiling on the stove, but boil it and then take it off the stove and then kind of soak the arm in it for like maybe like 30 seconds, and that should usually soften it up. So I did want to compare the size of the fists, since his, the Kid Flash figure obviously had like infamously small fists, and the regular Flash, it doesn't look like it's like that much bigger, but it's like I think just enough bigger that it at least doesn't look as freakishly tiny as the Kid Flash fists do. In fact, I kind of wish he did have some extra hands, because then I'd just give them to this guy so he can finally have some normal sized hands. But yeah, it seems to me like almost all of the Flash figures I have are Wally, and I do have the I don't have him handy. I think he's over on the other side of the room right now. I have the TV show version of the Flash. I have Grant Gustin, and of course I have Jay Garrick, the original Flash. So they've done pretty decent by the Flash so far. They've done a couple of different comic book versions of Barry Allen, but I missed out on them both times I saw him. Both times I saw, like the one that they had at Target, I saw him once and I didn't have the money for it, and then I saw the Speed Force version at GameStop and I didn't have the money for it. So both times I've missed out on a Barry Allen Flash, but Wally's my favorite anyway, so I don't really mind so much. So yeah, I do, like I said, I do kind of like that pixelated sort of highlight to him. It's not showing up on the camera so much, probably because he's like so red, and the cameras don't like red so much, but you can definitely see the spot on his forehead, and like a lighter red on down like the tops of the thigh muscles and over the tops of the abs, and a little bit you can see, I think, at the top of his emblem there. Also, I think that the lightning bolts around the wrist seem kind of sloppy Joe to me. Like, you can see that those are just kind of just vaguely shaped like lightning bolts in the academic sort of sense. And I figure that that was a stylistic choice. They were probably trying to make it, look again like what it looked like in the video game, but just so you know. And then you've got some lighter yellow streaks down the boots. I do really like these colors. It is a fairly vibrant but still fairly deep red, and then the yellow parts are, for the most part, are kind of a darker goldenrod kind of color, but then it's got like sort of canary yellow highlights. So it works out pretty well. As far as comparing the two, kind of what I look at as being basic Wally West Flash figures, I think I still like this one slightly better. Like, I like the things like the sculpted emblem and things like that. But he does have that, like I said, very goofy grin on his face, which I feel like fits the character. I don't mind so much. But if you want like a more serious version of Wally, this is your guy right here. I figure you might be able to swap out the heads. Like it's like a slightly different shade of red, but it wouldn't be that noticeable, I don't think, unless you had it in like some really bright light. But this guy, he sold out pretty quick, and I only saw him at Walmart the one time, and I did see multiple of him at the Walmart at the one time. But the next time I went back to the Walmart, they were all gone. So it's a good thing that I got this one, because it was one that I really wanted. And of course, this one I had pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store. So, but I believe that there are still some available on there if you want to order him. So let's go ahead and look at the articulation. Oh, real quick, let me talk about these wings on the side of the head. They do have like very much of a curve to them. They look very much like how the wings were drawn in the 1990s, and also remind me a lot of John Wesley Shipp on the Flash television series. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. So the Flash can look up about that far. He can look down about that far. He can kind of tilt his head quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders. They're on a butterfly joint, so they got some really good butterfly movement there. They can move back about that far, move forward about that far, up, down. Really good range of motion there. And then he's got the cool Mcfarlane torso articulation, so he moves around a lot. Right underneath where the rib cage is, and then at the waist, rotates all the way around at both of these joints. And now I've got his abs on the wrong side, so there we go. And Flash can kick up about this far. we want really good leg motion on this guy because he's a runner. So we got to get him in some good running poses, right? So let me go ahead and see what I can do with that as far as our video goes. And he'll probably be in a pose, something like that, in the thumbnail when I get around to shooting the thumbnail, which is probably going to be right after I shoot this video. So, Flash. I don't care if that's not his theme song. I just love that song. So yeah, Flash can kick up about that far. He's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion we get at the knees. And then he's got the cool Mcfarlane ball jointed ankles. Ankle can point down about that far, point up about that far, rotates all the way around, both where the ankle meets the foot and where the ankle meets the shin. So we get some excellent range of motion. You can get that ankle into pretty much any kind of pose you want to. And then we got some toe articulation just to show off. So if you're looking for a good figure of the Flash, I think this is a good figure of the Flash. Now, it might not be perfect for some people's collection, because I know a lot of people might want one that's like more of just like a vanilla style and not really having the whole pixel shading thing going on. But honestly, with Wally here, I kind of feel like this is probably the most subtle of any of the pixel shading that I've seen on any of these figures. It's like really, it's most noticeable with that little spot on his forehead and with the emblem, which, like I said, is a bit more pixelated than I would probably like. I would probably prefer if it was just up to me, I'm just saying stylistically, I would have made the decision to make these emblems a little bit cleaner. But I think that Wally's is about the cleanest one that I've seen on these. If not his, it's Batman's. We'll talk about Superman when we get to Superman. So we'll have that conversation then. But yeah, and Darkseid looks like he's going to be really cool. I like the darker colors. Like I do have some issues with some of the coloring on it, but we'll get into that again when we get into the next episodes. But the torso I think looks cool. But the next episode I do is going to be Batman, I think. No, it's Superman. Superman is the one who comes with the legs, so I'm going to want to put the legs on next. So I'll be back next time to talk about the Man of Steel. And we got a lot of cool Superman stuff coming up. So we got the superpowers, the new superpowers Superman and Bizarro, and I've got the Batman 66 version of Superman. That should be an interesting episode. And then, of course, we just had the Henry Cavill Superman versus Doomsday. But this week is, for the rest of this week, I think it's going to be Justice League Task Force. So we'll do Superman next, and then Batman will be the figure after that, and then finally Aquaman. And I'll talk about Darkseid as I put them together, because I always forget to do like the episode where we look at the Build-A-Figure. Like, I still haven't done the one on Anti-Monitor. I probably need to do that. Before I go, though, we've got still some more stuff to talk about, because I forgot to talk about the trading card and the figure stand. And the trading card and the figure stand are not on the same bubble, unfortunately, but I was able to get the trading card out fairly easily. It's got the same piece of artwork that we saw of Wally on the back of the package. That's what the back of the trading card looks like. And it reads, The Flash, Justice League Task Force, data file, powers, super speed, intangibility, superhuman agility, time travel, creates and controls lightning, multiversal knowledge. First appearance, The Flash, 110, alias / alter ego, Wally West, aka the Scarlet Speedster, the fastest man alive, base of operations, Keystone City. So this is a fairly dry bio that we get on the back. It's mainly just stats, but I definitely like it better than a lot of the other bios that we get that, like, try to tell like a little bit of a biography, but don't really tell us very much about him. So this is like, it's almost like a baseball card where it's got like just stats on it, basically. And I want to say that this is pretty similar to the bio that was in the video game, but of course it's been like almost 30 years since I played that video game. I'm showing my age. So yeah, I did get to go to the barber and get my head shaved, and I think I look smooth. I'm just saying, like, this This is me at my peak visually, folks. I don't get more handsome than this. This is as handsome as I get. I'm not trying to brag. That's not a flex. Just a statement of fact. All right. And then, of course, we have the figure stand, which is just the basic figure stand that we get on DC Multiverse figures. It's a matte black figure stand with a glossy DC logo embossed onto it. Oh, yeah. We still got to talk about these punching effects. So I think all the figures look like they come with these. And it's these kind of like translucent plastic pieces that you can snap onto their fists. And it makes it look like the punching effects like they have in the video game. So that's what those look like. I'm going to put the other one on his other hand. And they're kind of soft, rubbery plastic. So they fit on there pretty easily. Voila. There we go. So yeah, pretty cool figure. I'm pretty happy with him. I'd say that if you want a basic Flash figure and you haven't been able to get any of the other ones that Mcfarlane's put out so far, this is a pretty good one. And I think that, like I said, even though he does have a little bit of that pixelated shading to him, I think it's a little more subtle on this guy than it is on Superman or Batman. Maybe not so much Aquaman, but we'll talk again more about those as I get to them. But we're off to a good start with this line. I think the Flash is pretty cool. So I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss future episodes talking about these figures, which, like I said, should be the rest of the episodes I do this week, make sure you like and subscribe. All the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure and the Flash in general. Personally, Wally West is my favorite version of the Flash. Like, that's the one that when I first started seriously reading DC Comics, it was around the time of Crisis. And I remember when Barry Allen died and Wally West stepped up to fill his identity. So he was the Flash that I grew up reading in my formative years of reading comic books. You know what they say is that, like, the real golden age of comics is when you're 13. So he was the Flash when I was 13. So so yeah, he's the one I always remember, and I always really enjoyed the Justice League animated series and Justice League Unlimited, and of course he was the Flash on that. Probably why I like this Flash figure so much, because he reminds me a lot of the Justice League animated version, very much based on that version of his costume. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the Flash. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next time with Superman. I hope to see you then. Bye.